Welcome to a new episode of Half a Clue Movie Review. Today we will be discussing Mad God. Philip will be playing the part of the Mad God, apparently. Okay, so this project was created, animated, directed by...
Produced, written,
and everything.
finance.
By Phil Tippett. Stop motion
My
animation
cousin.
Legion. Yeah, Legion. Legend. The guy has done it all, really. Like he's known for, such classic works as like Clash of the Titans to Robocop to what was gonna be Jurassic Park, until they just like, hey, you know what? Let's just do this in CGI. And the legend goes that he said the line of like, now I'll be extinct or whatever, or like basically his style of filmmaking will no longer be in use. And he started the project just before that, creating Mad God, and then after that film was released, he just kind of he lost hope and was like, never mind, I guess I just won't do this then. But in the mid 2000s, there was a big wave and push of people supporting him to be like, no, you got to come out with this thing. You have to do what you can to create this. And so there was a round of I guess how do you say it? Like crowdfunding to be able to help this thing be finally created. And we have one of those original donors here today. Another guest stepping in today.
Oh, don't do that.
Jeremy.
Oh, hey.
Hi. Well, we didn't even introduce ourselves. I'm Ron. Hi, I'm here. I'm hosting today. We have Philip.
I'm Philip. I'm Phil Tippett's cousin. It's just like I was the off, what's it called? Or his long lost love child with a Korean woman.
You can only hope.
Yeah, I only wish. That would be a blessing. Yeah.
And we have Jeremy here today.
And I'm Jeremy.
Hey. So yeah, like we said, we're here to talk about Mad God, just released on Shudder. Definitely. I guess to spoil the rating a bit, I think it's definitely worth getting a subscription to Shudder just to watch this for the very least. It's worth it. It's awesome. So yeah, I don't know. How do you guys want to jump into this? This is like, it's a very unconventional film. It's definitely art house kind of industrial stop motion horror. So it's like, it's hard to even qualify it as like a horror film.
It's horror by way of being horrific.
Yes, that's true.
It is. There's really a lot of good grotesque aesthetics going on in this movie. We've already kind of burned into our brains. Everything about this looks like a Tool music video.
Yeah, it looks like Tool mixed with Nine. If you guys remember Nine when that came out, and just like
Nine's fine.
Yeah, and it just like turns it all the way up to 11, where it creates this massive.
That's the one
world.
directed by like the guy who directed Wanted and Tim Burton, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
With Elijah Wood voicing one of the moments. Oh yeah, I remember that.
They're like these little like I was gonna say sock puppets.
We don't have to talk about Nine right now. Mad God.
But
this is a much better version. Like it's truly realized. I fucking loved it. I watched this probably terribly in the sense that like when it came out on the 16th, I watched like 30 minutes each day before I fell asleep. Oh. So every night I had new horrifying nightmares. I like the first time I watched up until the point where, by the way, spoilers alert for anybody who has seen hasn't seen it yet.
Rewind this a bit, maybe. Maybe just what is Mad God about?
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay. So Mad God is a stop motion live action hybrid horror film, and as you mentioned, created by the Phil Tippett of ILM fame. It's kind of this art house film about it's essentially in this kind of like post-apocalyptic world, right?
Yeah, that's what makes it hard to describe, because there isn't exactly like a plot per se.
There is just like not like necessarily like outright stated, right?
Yeah. Completely no dialogue, anything else, just a visual feast of horrors and uncomfortable imagery.
But the basic understanding is there's this guy who looks like a character from My Bloody Valentine, but he's listed as the assassin in the credits, and he's descending into this bottom-dwelling post-apocalyptic world from an upper world.
Yeah,
and he's listed as the assassin, and he's trying to plant a bomb there.
And from the second this film starts, it just immediately pulls you in with its like just hardcore imagery.
The opening minute of the movie is just depiction of the fall of the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
And a verse from Leviticus, the worst book in the Bible.
It's just, immediately God's wrath, where he's just like, I'm going to destroy all of you. I'm going to make it so bad that even your enemies are going to be like horrified at what they find.
And it really just, the aesthetics of the movie just really leans into the general meanness of that verse.
Yeah.
It's,
Old Testament God, very angry, spiteful, and destructive.
it's a very bleak world where, like, the closest thing you have to a protagonist in this movie is treated like rather bluntly, and, like swiftly, and then the story keeps going beyond those characters, and then it decides to become something else at least 2 times throughout this movie.
We get to see like the horrors of this underground hellscape as he's like just in the opening where he's descending for like almost like 5 minutes straight, just going deeper and deeper, and you just see like different layers of, I guess, failed worlds, I suppose.
Right.
Like
failed
just,
worlds or cities or civilizations.
yeah, just like stacked upon each other, and he reaches what's probably not even the bottom level, but like he goes down, into this like.
No, it's not. It's not the bottom level, right? Because he opens up another staircase too.
Oh yeah, it goes down even further.
Yeah.
It's a very confidently framed movie.
Yes.
It's a lot of extreme wides to show the world that Tippett and his crew created. No real excessive coverage or anything. It's often just, here's basically an illustration and we move on.
Yeah.
Which is good. That is, as Jeremy on our Crimes of the Future, that is silent world building that I actually enjoy.
Yeah.
Crimes of the Future is also good.
Yes.
There's a difference between like a movie like what Cronenberg did, where you just spend 2 to 5 years of your life making it, as opposed to Mad God, which has possessed Tippett's mind for at minimum 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I think, Jeremy, you were mentioning this earlier. You can kind of see at certain moments like parts that were animated 20 years ago versus now, where the tech has kind of changed, but it's definitely like it's
still
very
the same
awe-inspiring.
brain.
Yeah.
Right. And in a weird way,
commanding all
that
this.
jarring effect kind of like worked to his benefit. Like, especially even like kind of like the comping and stuff. When they comp the real live filmed elements into the stop motion stuff, like at first it was jarring and then like it bothered me a little bit, but on retrospect, it on further marination, I hate using that word, has kind of grown on me, especially when they go to the upper world, and we see like either I think in the credits they list the upper world guy as the last.
There's
man.
really only like 3 human talents in this movie.
Well, actually, I think
one of them is really just the costume person for whatever's scene.
Yeah, because they do that too. They have like certain moments where
Venerated Alex Cox is in this movie.
Oh, really?
It's like, because like, you could tell like at least the stop motion element of it is at a much lower like visual fidelity than like the live action elements. And then so that's why like when they comp them, it kind of gives like this weird
there is a funness in seeing the actors exist in
the low fidelity stop
like the
motion world.
composited miniature worlds. There's a comedy to see them just kind of like skip along in their, like, there's green screen psych wall, and then they don't know what's going to be behind them.
It's pretty awesome. Honestly, I had the Shudder subscription like, I don't know, probably around October. I think a lot of people around Halloween time was like, let me get some stuff on here. And it's great. There's not that much. Well, there's like original content in the sense it's like, kind of these smaller like horror slasher films and creature stuff, and which is cool. But man, I would definitely say subscribed if they kept up like the
like stuff like this.
More kind of like, I hate to say it, I don't know, I was gonna say like elevated. But just in the sense of like more just like a larger production stuff, which is kind of ironic considering this was mostly crowd-funded, but the fact that it was done over such a long period of time gave them so much more opportunity to get down to really the details and really just nail a lot of these sequences, which clearly took years to depict. I think they said there's like there's one sequence where they achieved a mountain of bodies, which I forget, they melted like hundreds of different little army soldiers or whatever on top of here, and it took them 3 years just to animate that whole sequence.
Yeah, even putting aside the animation process, the actual like diorama and set building is a whole other monster.
Yeah, and it's incredible, really.
I'm turning away because I just keep looking at the reference.
We have it playing right here in the background, just to keep looking at it, because it is very.
It's good and
it's
fun.
mesmerizing, honestly. Yeah, like I was starting to watch it last night because I was like, okay, I got some chance. It's very late. And I turned it on. I was like, let me just watch like maybe like the first couple minutes, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a problem because I just want to stay up and watch this because like this is so crazy.
Dude, I had a moment where I don't know, I had like a bit of a cold or something when one of the nights I was sneezing while watching it, so my eyes were like away from the frame. I was like, I missed something. I did the 10 seconds back options in a lot of these streaming services to just watch whatever frames I missed.
Yeah,
and then and for this film, like I felt particularly compelled to like not miss like a single frame of whatever he did.
Yeah, it's incredibly rich.
It's his entire life work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is Phil Tippett's like magnum opus.
Yeah. I feel like we maybe said art house a couple times, but I wouldn't really use that as like a derogatory. This is really
I never
this is really a movie that's has been unbothered by any producer type at all in this entire creation process.
No, like I imagine that if it had been produced by some larger studio, they would have been like, okay, you got to give this like this minor character or the assassin, he's got to have like a story behind him, some kind of more motivation. Yeah, who knows? Like basically give him like some kind of arc, but there really isn't. It's just like look at this world.
There's a anthology nature to the story. There are distinct chapters to the plot.
Yeah,
quote unquote plot.
Yeah, that was my first night. I like got up to the point where the assassin was captured by the creature.
Yeah,
and as he's being pulled apart, and I was like, okay,
I also would say I would probably caution you. There's so few plot points in this movie. Maybe don't really go out length on any specific one.
That's fair. Yeah. Because if you're walking into this and you're completely blank, that's probably the best thing to do. Because just know that it's going to be.
You should stop the review right now and then watch it and then come back and watch the rest of the review.
Don't stop the review right now. We only got a couple more minutes anyways.
Okay. So do you guys want to get, I don't know, I guess just into like some of the details here a little bit. Like what are your histories going back? When did you hear about this? How excited were you about it? And
we've always kind of known who Phil Tippett was.
Yeah, even if you didn't know him directly by name,
but at least like
if you had any general curiosity on how movies were made pre-2000, you would have been aware of Phil Tippett.
Yeah, he's a legend at this point.
Yeah,
and he does have like a very archetypal story where he is a master of a dying craft, stop motion animation, and he kind of got dismissed mid-90s because the new tech started showing up. Yeah. Although really that myth of him going extinct thing isn't entirely true, because Tippett still stuck around during the production of Jurassic Park because none of the CGI animators knew how to move the dinosaurs, so he was still part of like the rigging animation team.
Yeah, and if nothing else, like that style of stop motion animation has still carried over a bit, because there are a lot of times where they'll have like concept artists or something create the idea for a character or a general design for it, and then they'll have someone come in, create a 3D model of it where it's articulated, it can move, it's like scanned and then put into computers to be able to really bring these creatures to life with all the textures and minor details that can very easily be overlooked. And it's kind of that can really make the difference, I think, between shitty CGI and good CGI. And they've also incorporated elements of like having characters something like, of course, everyone knows Lord of the Rings brought in the idea of like of motion capture and everything else. But even then, there were motion captures tech that was being used before, just on a smaller scale and not really attaching them to a live action actor until, Smeagol, Gollum, Lord of the Rings, which really kind of brought that forward. And people like Andy Serkis have then then move on to like pioneer that technology even further.
I mean, Phil Tippett still worked as like a visual effects producer.
Yeah, he's still
and a
supervised. Like he's still
like on the
he's still let in. He's still invited to places. He's
Good.
cantankerous.
he was visual effects supervisor for the Twilight franchise.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh no! What did he do?
You know what he did.
What's it called? You know, as this film's not like the best, but some of the visual effects were not terrible for the time.
Yeah.
He's probably the guy's like
People
we could
were
look a little better.
people were still putting in the work.
Yeah, it's
Regardless of how you felt about those
Oh,
movies.
and the
people put in
Spiderwick
the work.
Chronicles, he was like quite involved in that.
ah,
Yeah, which I could see his work and his creature stuff on there too.
yeah, yeah.
It's this film, the first time I heard about it was the 2012 Kickstarter. That should have been my first Kickstarter thing, but I was like, nah. My first one ended up being
It was my first Kickstarter thing.
I was like major
When it was, there weren't people flooding the channels on that. You could actually find products you want to earnestly support.
Now
in
there's
that
just-
case, it was Hollywood legend that felt like he was probably on the outs, wants funding so he can distribute this project that has been albatross around his neck for most of his waking days.
and I'm glad that it turned out well. This is
On top of that, it's good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like this is one of the successful Kickstarter functions where what's it called? We could either get a Phil Tippett's Mad God and be like, oh, this is a masterpiece of the genre.
I feel like I have an original DVD of the original concept short he used with the initial wave of funding.
he'll probably is he going to release was that part of the Kickstarter rewards or anything where he's going to release a Blu-ray or something?
Yeah,
With-
he did promise some kind of physical
Media.
media for it.
Since I wasn't the Kickstarter, I will have to scour the internet on eBay for the gorged prices of eBay. Thank you.
Maybe
That's my
maybe
fault
not.
though. Yeah. But like, yeah, we could either get something like this, Phil Tippett, a visual masterpiece, or we could get, Spike Lee's, the blood, the sweet blood for Jesus or whatever. And I think this is definitely on the better end of that. And I'm hoping I did it for Chris Stuckman's new horror film. I hope that is also. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be as good as Phil Tippett's or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping, like, please, it's like I want to be contributing something good, and now I'm gonna major FOMO.
So, do you guys have a favorite sequence or even just a favorite designed creature or something in this film?
Mine might be. I mean, it's like the most obvious one to say, but the one with the weird giant worm creature with the teeth, with like no lips, and then
carrying around like a
chopping the thing. Yeah.
thing.
That turns out the number one easy way of making something monstrous is give something that's not human teeth.
Human teeth and
that's not even
eyeballs.
just human teeth, but all molars.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite creature or anything?
I wouldn't necessarily creature, but as far as sequence is, we'll call it the Act 2 descent. The second time we make a descent into this hell world, and it's just a different part of the city, and it's just oxidized copper.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
The, the color palette on that is pretty wonderful. That's definitely like something that happened after his initial like proof of concept with kind of newer cameras and puppets.
That whole sequence really reminded me of this artist that I see on Instagram a lot. Oh man, I really wish I'd as his name or anything, but he does a very similar kind of it's not steampunk exactly, but it's a industrial kind of like hellscape kind of like concept, and he also has like creatures that he makes where basically it's like a machine human mix, and it's a lot of it works with like rust, so it basically looks like flesh that has been rusted out that's also been grafted to different kind of machines, and it's really cool. And he does have some larger looking
and
landscape
it's
work.
and it's really like a striking color palette. It's considering you spend maybe the first half of that movie with nothing but just kind of like dimly lit like flesh tones, like making that big switch to anything that isn't just brown.
Yeah. It's like here are these like or even like that first sequence where he's walking through and you see like those like bubbling kind of greenish goo lakes or whatever. I'd say probably I'd say just a creature that stood out to me so much was this weird floating plague doctor creature.
The alchemist is a very great design.
That was probably my favorite a live action filmed element or something like that.
It's no, you still have animated elements.
Some, right, but that's like
certainly there's someone in costume,
exactly,
but then the effects around that character is very good.
Yeah.
And then this is mild spoilers, but once you recognize the silhouette of that character, go back and watch the beginning of this movie.
Mild spoilers. I'm pretty much. I think that's been thrown out the window.
It's hard to spoil it unless you think the general idea of destruction creation myths a spoiler.
And then there's just some. I just also want to like give a quick shout out the highlights of this just being the sound design for this film. It's so
nearly
good.
No dialogue.
It completely relies, and when a film does something like that, you really have to obviously work on the visuals to help bring all of this to life. But nothing else, I think, really can solidify that even more so than fantastic sound design. There are just like certain noises in here, which some of them do sound a little stock footage.
I mean,
but utilize well.
It's not we're not bringing monkeys into the studio here.
No, it's like if anything, that's like the whole thing with like sound. If anything, is more important to projects like this than the actual visual aspects.
Yeah,
which is weird. It's kind of like Blair Witch Project. Like they made that on like $5,000, but they spent like an extra $100,000 on sound design after they bought it or so.
I mean, there's a lot of elements about this movie where it's the obvious craft in making the puppets and the stop motion animation, and no dialogue, almost entirely just sound design. It has a very universal feel to it. You can just show this to any freak nasty and they'll kind of know what the plot is.
So here's a quick shout out to all the sound department people. Foley artist Andrea Gard, Elena Vila, another Foley artist, the Foley supervisor William Stockson, sound assistant Claire La Presley, and the sound designer Richard Beggs, who again they crush it. There's so many like he also worked on like Apocalypse Now, Children of Men, the Harry Potter series, Chronicles of Narnia. These are professionals. They know what they're doing. And the music, again, really cool, eerie. It sounds like has like an industrial kind of hellscape sound to it. That's by Dan Wool, who's done tons of other fantastic, like kind of not necessarily big music and everything else. So really just kind of pulls it all together. So there's not much else very much to say without having to watch it really and just break down all the scenes, but we're not going to do that. And it probably
Who says we're not going to do that? Who says, huh? You don't dictate. I'm just kidding. Any other sequences that kind of like come to mind, before we close this out?
I mean, there's
honestly not much I want to elaborate on because this is an easily available movie for a lot of people. If you just want to get the trial or just get tickets. You can't get tickets anymore. We bought the tickets at the Alamo Draft House.
If you can.
Well, I mean, I guess in other states or something.
This is certainly a movie that deserves to like make the film circuits, have like an annual festival where this guy would show up.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're like the kind of jerk that loves Love, Death, and Robots anthology shorts, then you owe it to yourself to check out Mad God.
Absolutely. All right, guys.
That's the only nice thing I would say about
I think
Love, Death, and Robots is that if that's your kind of bag, this is like the same boat.
Wait, that's the only nice thing you'll say about Love, Death, and Robots?
A lot of those people are inspired by Phil Tippett. I like animated anthology stuff like Love, Death, and Robots. It's just the part where there has to be a dialogue. not strong.
I have not seen Love, Death, and Robots, so I can't speak.
You haven't seen any of the shorts?
No.
What?
No, actually, I take that back. I did. I saw one. I think it was one. It was like a creature or something.
I guess that's the fun thing about that. At least you can pick and choose what are winners.
And also with robots.
Dave Fincher directed one of them in the third one.
Really?
Yeah.
Not even the best one. You think you would do that just because a famous director is involved? No. He's not an animation director.
No, but his one was pretty great though, in my opinion. I thought that was one of the better ones of Volume 3. Let's go. What about let's go, any themes or anything you guys want to touch upon? Especially, I think like maybe during that one sequence, when in his first descent and stuff.
Yeah.
When you see all the dolls, basically working for kind of like the larger creature and stuff, when they
Mhm.
have like basically people whipping them, or they're accidentally killed by like the trains or
The
stuff like
machinery
that.
that's
Oh,
getting
I
right,
call
right.
that the homunculi sequence.
Yeah, there's like they're creating these little like men creatures that are just like going around just doing the labor and stuff, and then just getting destroyed
It
by the
can be a
machinery.
metaphor for humans
Humans,
in general.
capitalism, the lack
It's
of
not a subtle one, but
no, like the caste
either
system,
way, the imagery is very good.
like the economic caste system of like the higher ups. You know, it's like utilizing the
What kind of
workforce and
caste
stuff.
system is there? Is your meat or not meat?
Yeah,
Exactly.
and what's it called, and it works well enough. That's probably is my for me my personal favorite sequence is seeing that, and also the moment of like hesitancy from the assassin who's actually contemplating bringing one of the creatures with him.
I mean, that's the
helping
fun
him.
about movies like this, because it's everything about it, the plot, and maybe the messages are vague enough that it really just kind of hopes you take what you want from it.
Yeah. So
All right, let's
We
do you
guys
want to
wanna
get
wrap
into the
this up?
final ratings? Okay.
Yeah.
What's your rating for this?
honestly, I know I haven't sounded like super enthusiastic about it
You're
just from this,
tired.
but I want to put this in the museum. This is something that I think should definitely be preserved in the pantheon of great films.
You already
just
said
in
the
terms
word,
of-
so I can't say it. It's definitely a pantheon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I also hate the phrase instant classic. It's not instant. This took 30 plus years.
Yeah. So how about you, Phil?
For me, it's just in the shutter panel of the museum. Yeah, it's also for me.
I mean,
Probably the one killer app on the killer exclusive on Shutter. Might be the only killer app on Shutter for time to come. And I do love it and quite enjoy it and implore everybody to watch it.
yeah, it's not really an understatement. Like Mad God is definitely a singular work from a guy that, like, not really being bothered by anyone above him for like compromising his vision. Compromising his vision. We got something incredibly unique in Mad God, like
Absolutely.
a stop motion movie that really swings for the fences on the themes it wants to talk about.
It's something that I can imagine in 30 years from now, there will be like a solid chunk of filmmakers who add it to their repertoire of influences. Something that's like, what pushed you?
are Reservoir Dogs and Citizen Kane. And Mad God. I guess if I had to pick a cartoon.
Yeah, I hope that this really does inspire like a generation of younger filmmakers, and hopefully it pushes people to like want to bring more stop motion
generation
stuff.
of animators.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think we can wrap this up now.
Watch Mad God.
Go
Available
watch
on
it.
Shudder.
Watch the Mad God on Shutter.
Oh, man, don't do
Available now.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay,
Watch
thank
it
you
where
guys
you
for,
can.
Yes, thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe. We appreciate every single one of those. It means a lot to us. And yeah, thank you guys. Bye.
Bye bye.